World Swimming bans transgender athletes from competing in women's events. And man, this is definitely making me hopeful that people will start thinking with their rational brain. FINA members widely adopted a new gender inclusion policy on Sunday that only permits swimmers who transition before the age of 12 to compete in the women's events. The organization also proposed an open competition category. James Pierce, spokesperson for FINA, said, "This is not to say that people are encouraged to transition by the age of 12. It's what the scientists are saying, that if you transition after the start of puberty, you have an advantage, which is unfair. They're not saying everyone should transition by the age of 11. That's ridiculous, but you can't transition by that age in most countries, and hopefully you wouldn't be encouraged to." Basically, what they're saying is that it's not feasible for people who have transitioned to compete without having an advantage. Pierce went on to later confirm that there is no transgender women competing in the elite levels of swimming. So essentially, if you want to compete at the elite level in swimming, you're gonna have to be a biological female to compete in the women category. Now they are looking at incorporating some type of open competition where people of all genders are allowed, or maybe just a strictly transgender category is allowed. But man, whew, that's good. They decided to say, hey, let's do a cup check, and those who flinch are no longer allowed to participate in this event. So let's just call it what it is. When you have these transgender women or biological men, let's just call it what it is, competing against women that have worked all of their lives to get to the upper echelon of their sports, understanding they don't really have much professional aspirations with leagues because generally women's sports aren't profitable, so these college and Olympic events are where they can shine. And you had transgender people like Leah Thomas robbing young women deserving of that opportunity. Let's just make it very clear. Thomas, before he transitioned, was a mediocre college swimmer, and then when transitioned, became one of the best in the country. If that is not alarming, I do not know what to tell you. Because when you have an athlete that has trained in something their whole life as a male, and then they convert over to the female division and they dominate, isn't that indicative of a distinct physical advantage? I know some people might argue in the comments,
There's no scientific evidence proving there's a distinct physical advantage.
yes, there is. Looking at the basic biology, there is a physical advantage. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't treat them humanely and that they shouldn't be treated with kindness, but women had to fight and claw just to have collegiate level sports with a similar type of funding. And these transgender athletes are destroying that. That's not fair to women. It's just not. If you want to say that you're for human rights and for trans rights and all of this stuff underneath the sun, shouldn't you be for women's rights? The women that can't say this stuff out loud because they'll be categorized as some type of bigot. They want to have a fair level of competition, and by having biological males that went through male puberty in their sport is completely unfair. I am glad to see that women's swimming and women's cycling are using their rational brain when it comes to this subject. This might hurt some people's feelings, but let's just call a ball, a strike a strike. If you have a twig and berries and you went through male puberty, there is no way whatsoever you should be in a women's division. I'd like to know your thoughts down below on this subject in the comment section. Got to Paul. I'll see you in the next one.